that works with your health and eating and your fitness.
Because think
of
it like even
out.
a gym exercise. Like if you work out 5-6 days a week, isn't that boring?
Heck yeah.
Right? Like as long as you have the
Unless
routine.
you do jiu-jitsu, and then that's fun. But when you see like the 10 and 12-year-old kids do the hike and they're just smoking you and you're like, what the heck?
I know.
Like, gosh.
They just have so much energy.
Why work to be the number one team in, like, so for us, like, why work to be the number one team in Nebraska? Like, why not to be the most generous team?
Like, what does the number one Nebraska mean? Koby Sway here with Adam Briley, like usual. Today, we're going to talk about our last adventure, which was Cheplak Tahoe 2024. We just got back from it here last week, actually Wednesday night. So we were there from Saturday through Wednesday.
Yep.
One of the best things about the Cheplak Mastermind is not just the content, because you are working with some of the best in the industry, but actually we were just talking about the hike prior. I always feel like that's always a really good time, going out of your comfort zone, going on this hike that you can't control. You feel like you're in shape. You feel like you're going to the gym, and then you get your tail whipped on the hike.
Yeah, I think what always bothers me on the hike, because it's Mount Talac, and we started at 7:30, got done at 3:30.
Yep.
Last year we did it, and we started at the same time, and we got down at like 4:30. So at least we beat last year's time. But when you see like the 10 and 12-year-old kids do the hike, and they're just smoking you, and you're like, what the heck?
I know.
Like, gosh.
They just have so much energy.
Yeah, and they have like less supplies than you.
Oh, totally.
Like one bottle of water, and I bring like 5 with me.
You got Band-Aids. You got
man, I got a whole lunch pack in my bag.
We got lunch boxes in case this happens. I don't even know what to do with that stuff.
Yeah.
They hike up and they go eat lunch. We're still halfway up there.
Yeah, that was brutal. But there's always good conversations that happen.
Yeah, and that's really what it is making
Which is hard to talk and do a hike too at times.
Especially with the elevation difference.
Oh, yeah, totally.
But you always bump into people, and then you're like, hey, I got to follow up with this person. They said something really good.
Yeah.
But I was so out of breath that I have to follow up with them.
Yeah, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot about mortgage, and there was a lot of mortgage people there.
There was a lot of mortgage people than we've ever seen.
Yeah, it was definitely, it was interesting too. So,
well, and it's all about figuring out like who's pivoting, what they're doing. And there was plenty of people that were down year over year and struggling. And there was agents that were individuals and mega teams and mega brokerages. But there's actually a lot of people in the room as well that were up year over year.
Yeah.
Like blowing out of the water.
Yep. I love to hear the pivoting, because I know we're always pivoting. And if you're not, you won't adjust with the times. And then that's when it's like when the tide goes out, you're going to know who has their pants down around their ankles.
Exactly.
So it's good to know that and see what others are doing too and how they're pivoting as well.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
I think the thing that's always like, you go to this, and it is like, I always go and I bring this notebook with me, and it gets loaded, and this is probably like my, I don't know, second or third notebook, but it's always information overload. And then it was 3 days this year.
Yeah,
I mainly just really went for the first 2 days, and you were committed on the third. But I do notice my note taking starts to go down and down as the event goes on.
Yeah,
sure. But because it's just overload. But we always still come back with like 2 or 3 things max that we're like, okay, we're definitely going to commit to that.
It's definitely like, what are you going to do immediately, and then what's something maybe you can push off or look at later, right? Because it's all about execution. I mean, John says it all the time. It's not anything new. I mean, we didn't learn something like, oh my gosh, super thing we never thought of. It was like, hey, I mean, one of the things that really stuck out to us was copyright. Right? It was loving on your clients, loving on your database, making sure you're staying in front of them. I mean, it's just something as simple as we look at what Zillow does at such a scale, and they continue to stay in front of their database, their clients, because they're always there to remind them that they have a new house, or they have a mortgage calculator, or they have a value, or they have the ability to pull you back in for XYZ.
They keep you sucked in.
They keep you sucked in because they always have something new and cool. Well, we have the exact same thing. We're feeding the Zillow's database as far as the inventory. So we're feeding that cool, sexy, hot new thing. We're feeding it to them. So we have the ability to do that as well. And it's not just showing houses, obviously, but it's just, that was probably the one thing that we all agreed on. Copyright, making sure that we're emailing properly, posting on social media. and then just kind of letting clients know what's going on in the real estate community. Like even, Fed discussed rates the other day and cutting rate. I mean, it's just letting people know, how does that actually impact our business?
Yeah. So as far as like cleaning up your database, so I mean, we have a large database.
Yep.
And that's just years of selling real estate, past clients. That's new leads that are coming in, whether they're cold or ready to go now or ready to go in 2 years from now. So we have all this information, and I feel good about our database. Like, it's really clean. But what they talked about doing is like really segmenting it out.
Yep.
And okay, like, I mean, you go really deep with it. Like, obviously making sure that all the information is updated, their emails are updated. So like really we're going to work on putting a system behind, like making sure that's always being updated. Emails are correct. Birthdays are in there. Home anniversaries are in there. And then also like age groups.
Yes.
You can do like who owns a house, who's looking for a house, who's like just all these different ways. And then that way we're going to be able to deliver certain messages to those types of people. Like, who's an investor? We have a ton of people in our database that are investors.
Yeah.
So, I feel like Stacy and I can really like deliver messages probably this year. Seems like we were talking about right before we started this, is we seem to have been losing lately more on our flips than winning, unfortunately. But, just really we're going through that. And then deals are just changing, and cost of everything is just continuously going up. So it's making that world definitely harder. So us adjusting that too. But like, that's a great message to be able to deliver to those types of people, or people that are thinking of it. I have a lot of clients that are doctors and they have money in the bank, and they're like, okay, well, now that the Fed's coming down, what should we do with this money? Should we put it into a real estate fund? Should we go into stocks? Keeping it into a CD is going to be, or a money market's going to be less attractive.
Totally. With rates going down, that is it's the opposite for like a CD. The CD will actually start to fall quite a bit.
Yeah. So us like, separating that data out, I think is going to be good, helpful for us to make sure that we're delivering the appropriate message to those people as well. I think it's a big undertaking. Like, when I think of it, my mind kind of blinks out. So I know we'll probably put our VAs behind it too. I love like simple things too. Like, how often, like, we leave it on our agents, but how often, like, are we putting a plan in place that we are reaching out to our past clients on behalf of our agents?
Yes.
To ask them for customer surveys and ask them, like, I mean, simple things like, how do you like your house? Is there anything you would want differently? And again, it's a way to get to know your clients better, make sure that information's updated, and then get good solid feedback for us to improve our process as well.
Totally. And it's kind of doing a pulse check. And then even like
pulse check.
From a service standpoint, it's like, hey, we have access to a large database of quality contractors. So if there's something that's bothering them, we could be a resource to help them connect those dots. If it's something as simple as like, they wish they had this in their existing house, or there's certain things that they're not happy with. Maybe they notice that one of the rooms in their house, the heating isn't as well insulated, right? Like, or something like the paint is throwing them off, or they can't find the right paint color, or maybe they're feeling very overwhelmed with like the unfinished basement and they don't even know the cost. So it's like going back out there and saying, if you did finish your basement, here's the cost and here's what the value might bring.
Yeah. I mean, even I think of like the insurance world with, like Stacy and I are in the process of switching our insurance. Yeah. And I mean, we're going to we insure, and I mean, it's like a $10,000 savings a year. So I mean, it's even like knowing that information too, I think, especially in the insurance world, is really good to stay in front of them to provide that type of value as well.
So imagine if we could, get that message out to the database and just say, hey, like, you might be happy where you are. There's nothing wrong, but you might find, hey, we saved on average our clients, and it's not 10,000. With yours, it was 10,000, but maybe on average, I think the last number I heard was about $2,000 a year in savings, switching over to our broker model versus the current model they're at. Yeah. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, totally.
To the average person, that's a lot.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, cleaning up database, that is something we're going to be going deeper with. I really like that. Copy, I'm still not going to be the best at that, because like I would always be tempted to use like AI, or I'll probably use AI a little bit to help me with like topics and good.
Just to get you started.
Yeah, to get me started. I know if you get me writing, I'll start writing a lot too. So making sure I don't sound like an idiot too is probably going to be important. But
it's like deliver the message, but you don't want it too long either.
Yeah. 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 I mean, John always has great suggestions on like, I'm not gonna be able to find it in my notes right now, but basically, you're starting with the hook.
Yep.
And
Hook, story, and then close/ask for something.
yeah, even his video that he gives as an example versus probably what the average video an agent will go out and produce is night and day difference on like it keeps you engaged, keeps you wanting it. So
yeah.
I'm excited to get that information over to our agents as well.
Well, and the other thing, I don't know, a couple of people mentioned was just carrying your phone and doing it yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people were thinking that they should have, videographers or people just following them around all day. And it's,
well, I mean, just like, the video editing's that's built in your phone app.
Yeah.
Or the picture app that comes on your iPhone is really good.
Absolutely.
So
it's getting the video created. And then maybe you reach out to somebody, a VA or another partner and having them, take the information and then either transcribing it or putting it on paper, or coming up with a caption or a nice flashy photo. That's completely different. But John and a lot of people that we met were under the impression you shoot the content relevant to your needs and database, what you feel is necessary, and then you outsource the next part. Because you're not going to go through maybe and post it on 12 places.
No.
Right?
No. A lot of companies out there that can help with that.
Yeah. So that was a really big one. And then I think the other thing was just like making sure that we're staying in front of the right people, I think is important. That was kind of another message was like, there's a lot of people out in the real estate community. Some are talking negative. Some are talking about this changing. Some are like, I want to try to continue to surround myself with the people that are succeeding, the ones that are doing well. And that's what I love about going to that room is you find very quickly that in your market, yeah, we might be the top dog, but if we go there, we're really small compared to some of these other places.
Yeah. Well, Ben Kinney was there, and Ben Kinney is highly respected in the real estate space. He's 38, 39 years old. He's been doing it for a long time. And what he's done has just been incredible. He created Place, and they have,
they're technically the largest team in the country.
Yeah. And Place got $1 billion valuation here recently. He got, is it Chris Suarez, who was, he was CEO or some big wig at Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah. Yep.
And he got him to come over, and he's a really highly respected thought leader in the real estate space.
So he must have said something pretty good to take him from Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah, but like John interviewed Ben, and what I liked, the notes that I took on Ben was things I really liked with him is I really liked his comment on doubling your mindset and like how that can compound. So do you remember that?
Yes, the compound interest. So it's like, let's say, for example, you decide you want to make 10 phone calls. Let's just say today. How can you make 20 tomorrow? And then how can you make 40? Right? So it's just like, how do you look at everything in your life and try to double it? And you always have the mindset of doubling, as in your output. You'd be surprised how much we can actually do and what we allow or a limit we put on ourselves.
Yeah.
The other thing I found fascinating was his 30. Do you remember when he had his contest? You have 30 open houses in 30 days.
Yeah.
And so he threw that out to a challenge, right? To his team was like, hey, why don't you do 30 houses in 30 days, 30 open houses?
Yeah. And, there was a large number of his team that did it.
Yeah.
He did that in 5,000 calls.
Yes.
In a 30-day period, right?
Yep.
And again, a large number. Normally they would operate from like, there's no way I can do that or accomplish that. And then they were like, holy cow, I was able to do that.
Well, something like open houses, we ask our team to do an open house a week.
Yeah.
And we don't get everyone to do one a week.
Yeah.
So just imagine that's 4 a month, and he's asking you to do 30.
Yeah.
And you're like, there's no way.
Yeah.
But it's possible, and there's a lot of good results that he was finding from it. He even took 4 listings on himself. Remember that?
Yeah. I found that really interesting. I couldn't get past that, actually, because I'm like, why would he go take 4 listings when he
doesn't need to?
Yeah, he doesn't need to.
Well, I think the thing he wanted to make sure is like, is he still staying relevant and grounded to the closest point with his real estate community, which is, what does it actually take today to get a listing? What's the actual conversation? What does it take to get the photography and the videography and to win it and then sell it? So his big thing that he was talking about was, when's the last time you went into your business and looked at what it takes today versus what it used to take when he did it?
Yeah, like the CEO figuring out what the janitor does.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, too, I liked is when I believe you.
Oh, I love that part.
Yeah. Do you know, can you go
So
deeper on that?
it was a commitment. So it was, okay, let's just say you're like, hey, I want to make 50 phone calls. And you're like, okay, do you think you will? Like, could you, or would you, or will you? So when they respond like, yes, I'll make 50 calls, instead of saying, okay, sounds good, or saying, okay, perfect, I have your commitment, he says a follow-up is, I believe you. So if you said, hey, I'm going to make 50 calls, you look at him in the face and you say, I believe you will make 50 calls. So it just adds that extra layer of accountability. And by showing, the other thing he talked about was like showing a belief in somebody. And when you believe in someone, you have kind of a way of like separating that, like, oh, you know what? He trusts me. He believes in me. So now I have him in my corner thinking like, oh, you know what? I can do this. I mean, it's just like anytime you think of something that you can snowball into something larger is really going to make a bigger impact.
Yeah. Glad you remember all those details too.
Well, luckily I took a lot of notes like you. I just don't have the notes in front of me.
Yeah.
But Ben Kenny was fantastic. I mean, John did a great job of pulling, and he even said like twice, like,
They didn't prep.
no, he didn't prep, and he goes, man, he goes, I haven't had a question like this in a while. Right? He did that twice. John asked some really good questions on. The other thing he mentioned too is in the real estate space, sometimes people will lie to you, they'll mistreat you, and they'll treat you poorly. So like, give trust where trust is due. But then as soon as you catch them, you call them out on it, and then you move on. And he even said that. Remember, he had somebody that he mentioned, and he said that this business partner was misleading or lying or doing something they should have been doing.
Yep.
And they said, I feel bad that there's resentment there. You felt like you had to steal or lie to me.
Yep.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to help you now with ABC to make sure this doesn't happen again. And then you're going to pack your stuff and you're done tomorrow. And that was one of his best friends he knew for
many, many years.
Many years.
Yeah.
And so that was another point that I think I realized too is, and it's not just a real estate space, it's just anytime you're working with somebody, there's a level of trust with everyone, and you have to go into it with the best intention. No one plans to get divorced when they get married, right? Like no one plans to maybe steal. Somebody gets on tough times, and next thing you know, they're like, oh, I got to borrow a few bucks. No one's going to notice. Like, I think people have the best intentions, and it's not letting you hold. And I think that's what his lesson message was about that story is, like, don't hold that against the next person you bring in to trust you. Like, you can't assume the next person's going to screw you over because somebody else did in the past. Learn from your mistake, but don't think about it again. Like, I think he said was, once it happens, it's a split second and it's out of his mind. He doesn't think about it again.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of interesting too, especially at his level.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely not hanging on to that.
Yeah.
And affecting him because it's, it's affecting the person that screwed him over.
Oh, totally.
He's like,
regrets it probably the rest of his life.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's like, you can tell there's certain people that you can be around, and there's certain behaviors you can just like, this person's a little bit different, or this person stands out, or this person's like, they're a big thinker, or, whatever. You can just tell there's a different horsepower with certain people that come on that stage.
Yeah. Other thing that, and this was not just, they talked about it, but this was a very common theme that we've been talking about lately is doing the boring.
Yes.
Mastering the mundane. That is very clear where everyone at a high level, they know what their core competency is.
Uh-huh.
So they are spending what John says, and this doesn't come from John. This is like Tony Robbins, Dean Gracio.
Yep.
Like, and is it Dean Gracio? That's who, John coaches with him.
Yep.
It costs $250,000 a year to coach with him.
I know. It's not cheap.
Yeah, and it's all about staying in your lane of what you're good at. And then plus, like, it doesn't drain your energy when you're not in your lane.
Yep.
And it gives you energy to wake up, do the things, because it's still boring.
Yes.
But it's not like totally draining you. It might be boring. So like, stay in your core competency. Like, what are you good at? So for a real estate agent, are you mastering going after expireds, going after for sale by owners, going after just focusing on sellers? Are you just a really good buyer's agent? Are you an investor specialist? You can do it that way. You can talk about like, okay, what are the main things that I know I'm good at on a daily basis that will help move the needle?
Uh-huh.
Which then goes into like doing this boring, mastering this mundane, and doing it over and over and over again. That works with your health and eating and your fitness.
Because think of it like even a gym exercise. Like if you work out 5-6 days a week, isn't that boring?
Heck yeah.
Right? Like As long as you have the
Unless
routine.
you do jujitsu, and then that's fun.
But isn't it like you're going to work out for 60 minutes or 90 minutes? Let's just say, like for me right now, it's 5:15 to 6:30. I know I'm going to do that 6 days a week, 5-6 days a week. And it's boring. I mean, I don't want to get up. I don't want to wake up. Like I'm exhausted thinking about it. Like I'm just tired thinking every day I'm going to get up and work out for what, right? Like it is boring. Even like eating healthy, right? Let's be honest. If you're going to meal prepping and you're going to eat the same kind of basic things every day, it doesn't sound that appealing.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
But John talks a lot about like working part-time and owning your schedule in the morning. Like you work in the morning and then in the afternoon you can relax. He didn't say that. What did he say? You reap the benefits from the morning. I'm saying it wrong. John has never said that, like take the day off. But if you work from 9 to noon.
He does like in a joking, like challenge you because he's like, I think what he's saying is like most people, if you're working an 8-hour day, right? I mean, this is a study that's out there, is you're really only working like 1 to 2 hours a day, like legit focused.
Yep. The other times you're like working on stuff, pulling stuff up, writing notes, like catching up, shooting the breeze, watching TV, like side stuff.
Yeah. I mean, most of the guys there, the high levels, they are getting all their work done from 8 to noon. And then the rest of it is, okay, I got my hard stuff done.
Exactly.
Now I can work on the things that are not necessarily my core competency.
Yep.
But like it's something that it'll still help move the needle, or maybe it's for me, or maybe someone needs my time, or whatever that is too.
Well, and that was the other thing John's been pressing on, which we've been pushing on our team, is conversations. How many legit conversations are you having a day in real estate? And to keep it simple, the easiest way that our CM keeps track of it is 2-minute conversations. If you have a 2-minute conversation with somebody, that's a long enough time to say it wasn't just a hang up. It wasn't just a wrong number, right? Like there had to have been some words went back and forth if it was over 2 minutes, right? Because we all know if you call someone and it's like, oh, what do you need? Oh, I'm just looking. Oh, have a good day. It's like 2 seconds, right? So like that was the other thing John hit on a little bit at the real estate mastermind too, is like having conversations with people from 8 to noon or 9 to noon. It's like, what are you going to do in the first 3 to 4 hours in the day? How are you going to make an impact? And just keeping it simple. Let's say, like you just mentioned, Adam, is for sale by owners or expired listings. What are you going to do 5 days a week for, say, 2 or 3 hours, right? Which is not a lot of time, but who are you going to call? What's the scripts? And then when are you going to follow up? And then how are you going to operate your morning, if you will? And then in the afternoon, it might be other things like maybe it's following up with clients or setting up showings or working with others. But if you want to grow, let's just say it's listings and expired for sale by owner, those 2 or 3 hours will blow up your business in a good way quickly just by spending 2 or 3 hours legit focused solely on that exercise.
Yeah. It's hard for a lot of people to do that and stay in it. Yeah. I think that's what everyone struggles with, is how do you keep your folks in that lane for as long as they can for them? I mean, it's not for us, it's for them.
Yeah.
Well,
with ADHD and distractions, your cell phone alone will distract you 58 times in an hour.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's a coupon, a discount, Crumble's got a new cookie, you got emails from the school. Like that was probably just 10 minutes ago I got all those messages.
Yeah.
Because everyone's trying to draw your attention, right? Like Apple just came out with a new iPhone, right? So I probably got 36 emails on the new AI processor, right? And then the school district, we have got student-teacher conferences tomorrow, right? Like everything is drawing your attention. So it's very difficult to say like, hey, I know that you're in sales. I know you have ADHD. I know we like to multitask, but can you just set your phone down for 75 minutes and make phone calls towards for sale by owners and expireds?
Yeah.
Without being bored out of your mind, falling asleep.
Well, you will be bored and you'll hate it.
Yeah.
But you gotta do it.
So it's trying to convince them like, hey, you're going to hate it, but you should do it.
Yeah.
But the most successful people that we've come across and that we've been talking to, that's what they do every day.
Yeah. It's a very boring schedule, routine. Yeah.
So mastering the boring. So that was something that was talked about quite a bit.
Yeah. And then that kind of goes like, I don't know if you noticed this, but there is, so also in the Cheplak organization, like as you enter into it, again, I entered into it because I respect John's discipline.
Yes.
And I'm like reaching towards just, can I get a little bit more of that? Can I get a little bit more of that? Changing like me.
Think about the first topic he talked about for 45 minutes.
What was that?
It was an AA meeting.
Yeah, I mean, that's why
Remember
that's where I was going with. It's like most people, they enter it, and let's be real, most salespeople are alcoholics.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, I was there. I was drinking, smoking cigar like every 5 nights a week, easily.
Not including drugs that most realtors are in.
Yeah, and then most agents are on Adderall or whatever they're taking, right?
Yep.
And so they enter in this organization and they're new, and and they're like, oh, what's this all about? And then they start seeing like, wow, man, that guy's ripped, that gal's ripped. Like, oh, you don't drink? Oh, and you've done that? Wow. Like the common theme is like they all live these like extremely
healthy, disciplined lives.
Yeah, super clean, healthy lives. And then like, and then you kind of want to get a taste of that too. So, and then when you get there, you're like, wow, like, man, imagine if I gave up drinking like 10 years ago, where I'd be today.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's that, but also too, like I don't know if you noticed this, but during this event, a lot of them started talking about like their bigger purpose, like why they're here on earth.
Yep.
Even like Ben wrote down, like, why work to be the number one team in like, so for us, like why work to be the number one team in Nebraska? Like why not to be the most generous team?
Like, what does the number one Nebraska mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like, who really cares that you sell a ton of real estate? Like, what are you doing with that?
Exactly.
Too? And
like, what are you using with your microphone piece, if you will?
Yeah. And so, like, Veronica was talking about, like, she goes, I went from, I don't know what she said first, but I just caught on to the second part of it. She said, like, first it was like, I want to bring on 2,000 people. She goes, now my mindset is I want to save 2,000 people, with their, and she was talking about faith. And that was a common thing too. Like I heard a number of people talking about like they made their faith is like a very important aspect for them as well. And it's their guiding light on where they should go too. So I found that really interesting as well.
It's just overall making a big impact on people's lives.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, drugs and alcohol lead into a lot of problems, and then selling a lot of real estate turns into money, can cause problems between, marriages and kids and a lot of temptations.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so that was good. Also, what else actually? What were the other big things that were like, okay, we definitely want to do that?
Well, I think the other thing is just making sure that, like, let's just say, for example, we've got a lot of real estate agents out there in the community that don't know how to handle the buyer commission struggles or the new laws or rules that have been passed. Like, what are you doing to educate and train your people? How are you staying in front of some of the changes? Are you going to be the one that's sitting in the back waiting for change? Are you making the change? Are you moving forward? And I think the other thing that we talked to some people about was, what are you doing to get referrals? So let's just say on average, you get X number of internet leads and you pay for those internet leads. What are you doing with those internet leads? So that was another thing we talked about, is like, are you going back to your data and are you finding, let's say you got a lead from XYZ real estate company. Are you getting referrals from them, or did your team just get that one sale and then they're on to the next?
Yeah. So the statistic is each contact, so not even each past client.
Nope. Each
contact can equate to 2.5 referrals.
Yep.
In an 18-month period.
Yep.
So if you have 100 people in 18 months,
should be 250 people.
That's a lot of potential business for you to do. And so how often, and that's where I think, like, I'm definitely changing my thought process on Zillow. I think the old way of thinking is like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like Zillow's awesome. It's a great way to feed the team. It's a great way to get connected to a lot of great people. And I mean, who doesn't use Zillow? I mean, Saturday Night Live made a skit about it because everyone goes on Zillow. I use Zillow whenever I'm in a different market. I'm on the Zillow app. Like, it's the only app I ever use. And I think that's what most people use anyway.
Yep.
They're the Amazon. And, but from a team leader standpoint, I kind of had the mindset of like,
it's very expensive.
Well, it's expensive, but when you get used to that,
makes your people,
they get so accustomed to those types of leads because they do convert pretty darn quickly.
Yes.
And Zillow knows it. But that's why it comes at a really high cost as well. I mean, I look at Zillow for us as a business standpoint, it's a lost leader for us. And, and it can create bad habits.
Yes.
But like, then you think of it as like, again, I'll use Amanda for your wife, for example, like, she built her business on internet leads. She started off with internet leads.
Because we moved here not knowing anybody.
Yeah. And she looks at it the right way. Like, okay, like this is an opportunity. No, do I want to pay the referral fee when I go sell Zillow? No, but I'm also looking at this. I'm not going away. I'm going to be in this for the long haul. And every single person I come across, I can use as a potential opportunity to get connected to someone they know that's thinking of making a move, and I can provide value to them and then provide value to their folks too. And it's just this huge snowball effect. So definitely looking at it like, or like, let's take Edith. She's had 45 Zillow lead sales this year.
Yeah, about that. Give or take a little bit. We'll call it, just to keep it simple, 40.
Okay. 40, not 40 leads, 40 sales from Zillow.
Yep. Since she started on the team, she started November last year.
So, I mean, that is massive.
It's crazy.
And so, like for her, now she can take that and go get
2.5.
Is that 100? I don't even know the math.
Well,
40, yeah, it's 100.
Yeah, I was going to say 40, 40.
So that's 100 potential referrals that she can get. That's on her past clients. And then if she goes and reaches out to every single contact she's gotten, which is a much larger number.
Totally.
I mean, that would be massive.
Huge.
So, I mean, I look forward to seeing her business grow too, because once she starts getting those referrals coming in, oh man, it'll be huge, massive.
Yep.
So
the other thing we've been talking about for a little while that I talked to quite a few people there is like, not retooling, maybe that's the wrong word, but it's like looking at your real estate agents, and they're all at different levels, different phases, and they all want different things. When a new real estate agent starts, they want training, they want leads. When a real estate agent is on your team for, let's say, 6 months or a year, they want, okay, like, how do I not pay these exorbitant amount of fees? How can I get a better business that's bringing me money in? So they maybe want, again, maybe they want to farm a neighborhood, or they want to reach out to a database of people they're not thinking about, or get involved with their church, let's just say. And then you got another phase of people that are like, okay, I've sold 250 sales. How do I get referrals? How do I nurture and build raving fans? So like, I've been trying to and we've been talking about this, is like trying to make sure that like you have a level or a seat or a hat for each person on your team, because every realtor on our team is at a different pathway where they want their business to be. Some people on our team said, you know what, I would love to just work internet leads, and I don't want to do, let's say, open houses, and I don't want to make cold calls, and I don't want to, whatever, right? Like everybody has a different pathway. So we got to figure out as a team, how do I support each of the realtors' business in their journey? And it changes every probably month, because they see something cool or something different their friends are doing. They see something on X or Instagram, and they're like, well, why can't I do that? That person's driving around a Jaguar or Ferrari. Like, so sometimes it's shiny objects, but most of the time it's simple. A real estate agent wants to have a great work-life balance. They want to enjoy the business that they're doing, and they want to get in front of clients, right? Like, they don't want to necessarily maybe plan an event, but they want to have clients come to an event. So how can I help get them to an event? How can I get them, let's say it's like they don't want to write maybe emails. So how can you and I get the word out to our clients what's going on in the community? For them, on behalf of them. And then it's like, again, just reselling their brand and their name. Because at the end of the day, we don't have a business unless the real estate agents are successful.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure verbatim, every realtor on their team sees it as like a partnership. And so I've been like focusing most of my attention on where are the levels or hats or groups or units each of the agents are in, and how can I best maximize them? Because let's be honest, the number one thing that new agents say less than a year on the team, how can I be like XYZ realtor? Like this realtor. And then there's agents in the middle that are also thinking like, how do I get to that level? And then there's people on top that are like, okay, well, I'm kind of bored, or I'm kind of tired, or like, what else can I do? Or I'm kind of burnt out, right? Like, they're all at different spots.
Yeah.
So I've just been trying to refocus kind of the team as far as like what I can provide.
And we have gone in that direction, because like it started with a couple of agents on the team, like, you know, they think back to when we were the smaller Navy SEAL type team. They're like, oh, I kind of miss that, you know? And so, you know, like we're meeting this Thursday with, we're calling it the vets, but the Navy SEAL team are almost kind of like, it's almost like creating a Navy SEAL team within the team. Yep. And, you know, Emily Mooney, I think she's the,
Lori Readers.
Yeah, she's on Laura Reader's team. What?
That's the director of sales.
Director of sales.
Yep.
Like she made the comment like the top 20% want to be heard.
Exactly.
And I think we definitely operated from the standpoint of like, listen, like we're here when you want us, but otherwise we're
going to leave you alone.
It's a pat on the back, like, hey, great job, but we're going to leave you alone because you got a good thing going. We're not going to mess it up. We're going to try to tell you what to do. We're not going to micromanage you. And then next thing you know, like a year can go by and you're like, well, shoot, like I talked to them, but I haven't really like deep dove with them. Right.
Like what's their new why now created
and like, what do they want to see change? Like give them a microphone to be able to like talk to us about like, hey, here's some things that I would like to see happen. So, I mean, and we're doing that actually this week to sit down and like, okay, guys, like I think there's like 9 or 10 of us. We're going to sit down and say, what are some things that we can do to help support you guys in a better way too? And I am actually, I know Janelle, they sent out the feedback form too.
Yeah.
And it was interesting seeing some of that stuff too, as well.
Yeah. A lot of them said that.
Yeah.
Just, and it was really the question of like, how can we support you? And it's not just, I think a lot of the times people think like, oh, well, they're here when I need this. And it's like, well, okay, we'll use Amanda. Like Amanda specifically, she does Popeyes. It's like, well, how many Popeyes is she doing? Where is she targeting? And then let's say she's doing neighborhoods, like in our neighborhood, for example, I know she does a lot of different like things in the summer with partnering with food trucks. So it's like, maybe that's something like Skylar might love to do as well. So it's like getting Skylar and Amanda to like figure out together. And then Skylar might have some ideas on like, maybe Amanda could work on social media where he does better with that, let's say, right? Like, so it isn't just that it's putting him in a room and letting them also mastermind. And then sometimes it might be like, hey, you know what? I really wish, I'm making this up, the admin would send an email with my photo and then did a survey immediately after.
Yeah.
Like that's something we can help them with that we're not doing. So sometimes it's not like, oh, well, we want you to do this. Sometimes it's just putting them in a room, listening to them.
The littlest tweaks is what you mean.
The littlest tweaks, yeah. So it's just, I think sometimes we forget that. And I think that we assume like, oh, well, they must be doing great if we haven't heard from them.
Yeah.
So that was a theme we heard as well.
Yep.
There's just, what you're going to find is every real estate team or brokerage runs their business completely different. And what we find is if you try to run your business like somebody else's, it'll fail because it's not you. So if you try to like, let's just say you want to try to, I heard someone only hires new real estate agents, but I don't really think that's a good idea, but I'm going to do it because I heard it was good. Mm-hmm. It probably won't be successful because you don't believe in it.
Yeah.
I heard someone that does really well with flips. So I'm just going to go figure out how to flip houses, right? Like, but that was another thing I think we talked about a decent amount was like how, and that's something you've done as a team leader too, is like, you've also brought your realtors into some of these flips or these opportunities to grow their wealth.
Yep.
So that's something that you do extremely well, but there's also teams across the country that try it that failed miserably at it.
Yeah.
So it's just figuring out what it is that your core principles are, what's going to be in your tribe, and then what are you really going to care about at the end of the day, right? Like, I think that we want...
What's going to keep you going?
Exactly. We want people that have like-minded attitudes, that are positive, that have a growth strategy, that are also good, kind people. We don't want to just sell 1,000 houses. When Ben Kinney said that, when he's like, well, you want to just sell a lot of houses or you want to make impact? I was like, well, I really want to make an impact on people's lives. I mean, if you really think about some of the people we've all touched and their paths and their journeys, and again, we're not taking that we've done it, but we've sat side by side with them along the car ride, if you will.
100%.
So we've gone deeper on that, and it's just trying to evolve the team. As we go from, let's say, 50 to 75, what more can we do with, again, all levels of our team? And then we go to 150. And it's the same with Vince at our brokerage. He does the same thing with his people, is like, okay, what's the training? Okay, what's the next level? Okay, what is my 10 million? What's my 20 million? What's my team that also works in this area or this specific market? Vince is doing the exact same thing at a broker level, and we're just having to evolve as a team.
Yep.
So it's not like we're doing anything wrong. It's just we're trying to make sure that we continue to provide the best value for their agents, because we know they can go somewhere else and get more.
Yeah, 100%. Better splits.
Maybe it's better splits. Maybe it's better admin. Maybe it's better social media. Because again, you could go to a team today that has a videographer that follows him around.
Yeah.
And that may be cool to one person, right? Or there's another team down the road that does 95-5 splits. They don't provide anything for leads, but you get to keep all your commission. I feel like we have the best leads in the country. I feel like we have probably one of the best coaches out there. I feel like we have the best team leader. So it's just highlighting what we're doing and then just making sure the agents see value in it. Because I was surprised, actually, looking at the comments. This sounds bad. I was surprised the number one thing people said was the community and the support they felt.
That's what they liked about it.
Overwhelming. People said community and support. So that just goes to the fact that, one of the agents on our team, Alex, says all the time, like, you guys should have more team builders / happy hours where we come out to the house and we play, pickleball, or we have like maybe a top golf day.
Yep.
Right. So that was the number one thing. I was surprised for people to say that. I thought for sure, without a doubt, they would say,
we're definitely going to do a pickleball thing soon.
Yeah, I'm not good at that pickleball, but I tried my best. I got whooped hard.
I'll watch.
I got beat hard.
Yeah.
Because we got a lot of younger people on the team. So
yeah. Again, for me, to end this out is what are you doing to master your schedule, master the mundane?
Yep.
Like, is just really keep going deep with that.
Like, be purposeful with your intentions of your day.
Yes.
Yep. And we've been talking about this for a year or two, and it's hard.
It is hard. It's really hard because you always get distracted. I've noticed, like, I get on a good streak of doing this or that, right? And it's all aspect, whether it's eating, my working out, my prospecting,
going to bed on time.
And then it's like, oh man, like I started watching the show on Apple TV, Bad Monkey.
Oh yeah.
Like, what a time suck. Like, why the heck am I spending this time watching this when I could be reading a good book to grow myself, right? So it's things like that can distract you, but just getting back on track as fast as possible.
But you got to allow yourself to fail. Now's the other thing John mentioned, and we've heard others say, is like, I mean, even Veronica, how many times have we seen her on stage crying, admitting mistakes?
Yeah.
And I love that about her is
she'll
be the first to say, like, hey, I made this mistake, right? Here's where I made this issue a problem. Like, we're all going to fail in life. It's just identifying what your purpose is, what's your intentions, what are you doing in the day?
Taking ownership of it.
Yeah, taking ownership of it. And again, not beating yourself up. Remember John talked about small wins? The other thing is, like, let's say today is I want to make 2 conversations a week. You're like, that sounds terrible. Well, it's better than saying make 100 conversations a week because you're never going to do that.
Yep.
So compounding small wins. But overall, I felt like it felt like a lot different of a mastermind. Maybe it's because you and I are in a different headspace than we were maybe a year or 2 ago.
Yeah, we're not drinking now.
Yeah. So like we're just, there was a lot of good takeaways on taking care of your body, your mental health, and then making an impact on your, community.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So hopefully you guys all found this a little bit helpful. I promise it wasn't an AA meeting at Cheplak, but the first 45 minutes we were joking about that. But it's all about looking at what you're doing and then why you're doing it, and just reminding people why we do it.
Absolutely. All right, cool.
All right.
Thank you guys.
Thanks everybody.